a young man out of his mind and fueled by rage. Brandon Hole opted to end his own life, but not before taking the lives of many innocent people in one of the worst mass shootings on record.
Marion County 911. Is anybody experiencing flu-like or COVID-19 symptoms?
No, somebody's shooting in my hub. I'm at FedEx in Plainsville.
What's the address?
There's gunshots everywhere.
Okay, what is the address?
The address is 8951 Mirabelle Road.
How many shots did you hear?
I don't know if anybody got shot. Can we go out down here? Can we run on way to the end and go out?
Don't go outside. Stay where you're safe.
8951 Mirabelle Road.
I want you to stay with me, okay? Don't hang up, okay?
Shut that door!
Indianapolis FedEx shooting is the deadliest in the history of the state. April 15th, 2021, approximately 11 p.m. Brandon Hole arrives at the FedEx facility during a shift change, ensuring a maximum number of potential victims. Given Brandon's history as an ex-employee at the center, it's entirely possible that this time of arrival was planned for that very reason. When Brandon Hole makes his way toward the building armed with 2 assault rifles, there are reportedly at least 100 people on the premises. Hole begins firing at innocent people whilst in the parking lot. He then makes his way inside the facility and continues to rain bullets down on anyone in his path. Everyone in the vicinity hears the shots ringing out as Brandon Hole brutally murders people at random. Chaos ensues as some people flee and others lock themselves inside their rooms. Those who do have their cell phones and those outside the building that hear the shooting all call 911, giving dispatchers an overwhelming number of calls to deal with. They alert the authorities to the grave situation unfolding at the FedEx facility. But these calls also cause confusion and misunderstanding over how many shooters are active at the location and whether they are inside the building or out. At one point, several employees manage to escape past a turnstile. This turnstile is then locked, preventing the shooter from following those fleeing. With the obstacle in his way, Brandon Hole pokes his rifle through the turnstile bars and fires with the hopes of hitting anyone he can.
I was outside the lobby. I had to get all the people out. He couldn't get through the turnstiles, but he was sticking the gun through. So when he went out to the parking lot, I rushed everybody back through our second set of turnstiles and sent them in the truck.
Is there a certain entrance number or door that we can note here in the run so they know where to get to you? And how many people are with you?
I can get the cops through. Uh-oh, somebody's at the door out there. Is that a police officer or is it him again? It's a police officer! It's a police officer!
Officers arrive on the scene. Though, thanks to the confusion stemming from multiple reports, they don't know how many attackers are on site, and they can't be sure of the hell they are walking into. The law enforcement officers make repeated attempts to confirm the number of shooters, though these attempts are unsuccessful, so police only have the option to prepare for the worst.
Have we confirmed whether we have 1 or 2 shooters?
Reports are saying 2 shooters. Okay, is it 1 person, 2 person?
Can't tell if just multiple rifle shots, but it sounds like the same report, so I'm assuming 1.
Okay, are they inside or outside?
Last they were outside.
Okay.
I'm getting information that he is still inside the building from somebody pulling off the lot.
Hole's terrifying rampage comes to an end soon after, when the 19-year-old turns the AR on himself and pulls the trigger. When the shooting stops, 8 innocent people are dead, and 4 more are wounded and in need of hospital treatment. Police eventually find Brandon Hole. His body takes the tally of the deceased that day up to 9. What could possibly have pushed Brandon Hole to commit such a senseless crime? From the evidence we have available, the signs point back to Brandon's My Little Pony obsession playing a part in pushing the 19-year-old over the edge. Hole's final Facebook post included talk of his favorite character, Applejack, a character he had developed an unhealthy and frankly disturbing infatuation for. I hope that I can be with Applejack in the afterlife. My life has no meaning without her. If there's no afterlife and she isn't real, then my life never mattered anyway. Brandon Hole. This statement is the closest thing to an explanation for taking his own life that Brandon Hole left behind. For many years, this young man had been unknowingly waving red flags at those around him. While many ignored these, Brandon's mother did not. Back when Brandon was just a 4-year-old child, Brandon's father took his own life. During a phone call with police, Brandon's mother, Sheila, revealed how even though Brandon did not witness the death of his dad, the incident left an unshakable impression on him that lasted until his own demise.
I mean, he'd, be real depressed one day and be like, I ought to just do what my dad did.
How did his dad kill himself?
So.
Okay. Did he find him or did he see that?
No, he was there when we got into a real bad argument, and his dad said that, hey, whatever, if you leave with the kids, I'm going to myself, and I said, go ahead. Okay. He was, I think, 4 then.
There was simply no escaping this traumatic event, and so from an early age, Brandon Hole displayed concerning behaviors. Sheila Hole had no choice but to take her son to a medical center. This would lead to Brandon being diagnosed with multiple behavioral disorders, including obsessive-compulsive disorder, anxiety, depression, and disruptive behavior disorder. Sheila would soon find her son impossible to control, and Brandon would soon begin to display terrifying signs of aggression. In 2013, Brandon began to physically assault his mother by punching her on both sides of the face, kicked her legs, and then grabbed her left arm and bit her on the forearm. After this unthinkable attack on his own mother, Brandon Hole attempted to stab Sheila with a knife. When police arrived at the home, Hole threatened to use the knife on the officers. Brandon Hole was promptly arrested and taken to a juvenile detention center. Hole was given a few months of probation and sent back home, giving this unhinged youngster the opportunity to terrorize once more. Brandon was about to wave the most concerning red flag of all, an internet search history littered with entries on mass shootings. This fact should have been evidence of a clear and present danger in the Hole household. But when Brandon was assessed by a children's foundation in 2015, he managed to convince those questioning him that his obsession with mass shootings was fueled by sympathy for the victims. I feel bad for the victims, the families. Brandon Hole. 5 years later, Brandon stepped his obsession with firearm death up a notch when he made his mother drive him to a local gun store. Sheila recalled the day of March 2nd, 2020, during a phone call conversation with investigators.
He was like, well, drive me to the gun store and I'll just look around. On the way to the gun store, we saw a sticker that said #stop for life. And he's like, there's your sign. And I was like, okay, well, if you buy a gun, there's your sign. I got to take that away from you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and he did buy it without bullets.
Brandon purchasing a shotgun without ammunition made the troubling situation a little less so. But the truth is, Brandon only left the store without bullets because on that day, the store was sold out of them. Brandon's mom's main concern with her son owning a weapon was that he would use it on himself and tragically mirror the actions of his father. Even with that heartbreaking thought in Sheila's head, she allowed Brandon to make the purchase. On March 3rd, 2020, Indianapolis Mobile Crisis Assistance Team members entered the Hole household and placed the unstable Brandon in handcuffs. While this scenario would make almost anyone anxious, Brandon was especially so, allegedly insisting that no one look at the contents of his computer. When law enforcement officers inevitably searched Hole's personal computer, they found that Brandon had developed a habit of visiting white supremacist websites. Brandon Hole's shotgun was then confiscated under the aptly named red flag law. According to records, no psychological evaluation of Brandon Hole was performed that day. The FBI opened an investigation into the 18-year-old due to his internet search history, but this was closed due to a lack of evidence. Thankfully, at this point, Brandon's shotgun was not returned to him, though police did follow up with a phone call to Sheila regarding the situation.
I just needed to talk to you about what happened with Brandon. My role in this is simply just to see if we're going to file a retention case. If they file a retention case, he would also be deemed to be a dangerous person, which only means that he wouldn't be able to purchase a firearm. This isn't a criminal record, and it's not, you can't even see it. Like if somebody were to search for criminal cases and stuff, these cases don't go into there because they're just civil. Once they get filed, like if I needed to check on one, I can't even do it. I have to send an email to the prosecutor's office and ask them to look because they're the only ones that can access it. So to see like what the status of it is.
This detective mentions the possibility of Brandon being placed on a dangerous persons list, though due in part to Brandon not wanting to have his shotgun back, the unhinged young man was never placed on such a list.
I kind of just need to talk to you about what happened that day and how you're feeling about whether you'd want it back or if you...
Oh, so sorry to interrupt, but,
okay.
But I don't want it back at all. It's fine.
What would be your goal for us to do with the gun?
Just destroy it. Or,
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'd say that. Because I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about getting my life back on track. I don't have any mental health issues that I'm aware of. I don't think I do. And I wouldn't say depressed, but my feelings to the reason why I got a gun is because I wanted to show my best friend who's really into hunting and stuff, mainly also for like the fun of shooting it.
I mean, if you're getting it back on track, I don't know what it's off track of it unless it's just that you didn't get your high school diploma.
I mean, off track. It's that. I mean, I'd say that. I mean, do you think this, like, not doing anything with your life is on track? I mean, I don't think so.
Well, no, but I also think that could make me sad and depressed if I felt like a failure or whatever, but apparently that's not what you're feeling, so.
Like, I just signed up for GED. I'm going to get my GED. I'm going to counseling or therapy, or I'm not really sure what the correct term is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to get my life back on track, and I'm really trying hard.
In July and then September of that same year, Brandon Hull made further trips to a gun store. On these occasions, the teenager purchased 2 AR-15-style rifles. A young life filled with trauma was now moving rapidly toward a gruesome end. Brandon's haunting memories of his father and the manner in which he took his own life eventually manifested in the form of a macabre mannequin hanging inside Brandon's closet. Brandon's bedroom, scattered with My Little Pony decor, makes for a truly unsettling sight. Things were most certainly looking bleak for Brandon, but for a time in 2020, the young man seemed to be set on turning his life around. Brandon Hull landed a job at the local FedEx facility. By all accounts, Brandon enjoyed his role in the company. This may have seemed like one giant step in the right direction, but the harsh reality is that this period was simply the calm before a sickening storm. Approximately 6 months prior to the shooting at the FedEx facility, Brandon unexpectedly stopped showing up for work. His no-shows resulted in the official end of his employment in October of 2020. By March of 2021, Brandon was back in therapy. Sheila was doing all she could to get her son the treatment and care he needed. She was desperate for help. Meanwhile, Brandon Hull was running up a shopping list of deeply unsettling purchases. A few weeks later, in Brandon's final therapy session, he declared himself a danger to society. On April 15, 2021, Brandon Hull entered his former place of employment and committed the worst mass shooting in state history before ending his own life. Sheila Hull made repeated attempts to get her son help. She was failed by the system, much like Brandon's victims were failed too. I tried so hard and I fought. Mainly the fight was that so he wouldn't kill himself. I grieve the victims' deaths because it's not anything I ever thought would happen. Sheila Hull. His victims that day ranged in age from 19 to 74 years. It's hard to believe that there wasn't anything anyone could have done to prevent the deaths of 8 innocent people. Was the Indianapolis FedEx mass shooting preventable? Or was Brandon Hull destined to unleash his inner demons on innocent lives?